Today, you will hear one of the creepiest stories from Reddit. These are real posts written by people who claim to have experienced all of this themselves. These stories just should not be listened to in the dark, alone. If you enjoy this format, support the video with a like. It will help me make even more scary stories for you. I film wildlife. This work requires patience, stillness, and the ability to dissolve into the landscape, becoming a quiet, unnoticed part of the forest. For weeks, I lived completely alone in remote corners of national parks, where my only companions were the whisper of the wind and the rhythmic click of the shutter. I spent 14 hours in a tight hide, not moving, just to see a rare bird or animal. In those moments, I felt like my true self. At least, I used to. Now, silence is the scariest thing I know. It is never complete. And loneliness is a deception, because I am never truly alone. It all began 3 months ago. I was working on a long project in a huge, almost deserted national forest. Ancient pines stood there, tall, like cathedral spires, disappearing into eternal mist. I wanted to capture in my portfolio photos of a Cascades red fox, beautiful, but incredibly skittish. The first weeks went normally. I woke before dawn, traveled many kilometers into the forest, set up equipment, and waited for nature to reveal itself. And one evening, I got the shot I had been dreaming of. A magnificent male fox. Its fur like fading fire, frozen on a sunlit meadow, tilting its head, listening. The light was perfect, composition flawless. I took a dozen shots, and my heart raced with that special, almost electric thrill only photographers know. Back at camp, I eagerly loaded the photos onto my laptop, scrolled through them, and there it was, the best one. The fox was sharp, eyes alive and intelligent, background softly blurred with gold and green, everything perfect, except one spot. In the top right corner, a strange vertical blur of white light stretched. It wasn't in focus, just like an artifact, like a lens flare, but the sun was behind me. I checked the other frames, the same thing in exactly the same spot, a stubborn, ghostly streak on the perfect photo. I sighed, deciding it was some internal reflection in the lens, and made a note to thoroughly clean all equipment. A week later, I returned to the same meadow, set up the tripod in exactly the same spot, at the same time, framed the shot, and waited. I wanted to catch the flare in the viewfinder before clicking the shutter. I sat for hours, motionless, like a stone. I pressed to the camera. Sunlight fell in patches on the grass. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Silence filled the forest, but as evening approached, another feeling grew stronger in me. Weak, primal, familiar to every living creature. Anxiety, the sense of being watched, tingling in the back of the head. Cold clarity. I was no longer just an observer. I was prey. I held my head still, breathed evenly, but my eyes flicked to the right, and I saw it only for a fraction of a second, tall, wavering, a figure like a column of trembling heat. The outline of a person, long, thin, hanging upside down from a thick fir branch, a blurred, shimmering shadow. At that moment, my brain registered this impossible image. I snapped my head around to look straight. But there was nothing, only an empty branch against the sky. The forest was silent, the sense of someone else's gaze dissolved. I needed a break. I had to see people. I went to the nearest ranger station, a small cabin administrative center of the park. Two people were on duty, an elderly man with gray hair, tired, kind face, and a young woman. I exchanged a few words, bought a map I didn't need, and then, trying to speak casually, asked, "Hey, this may sound strange, but have you ever seen anything unusual deep in the forest? Like light playing tricks?" The senior ranger lifted his eyes from the papers. He and the woman exchanged a glance. The look was short, but too meaningful. "What kind of light tricks?" he asked, in a calm, low voice. I felt like an idiot, but continued. "For example, a figure, tall, shimmering, a human figure, hanging upside down from a tree, visible only out of the corner of the eye." The young woman's friendly face tensed. The senior took a deep breath, leaned back in his chair. "Inverted man," he said, and it was not a question. "Yes, we've seen him. Most people who spend enough time here see him." A wave of cold relief washed over me, then immediately replaced by an even more chilling horror. I had not gone insane, but it meant it was real. I made a fatal mistake. I am a photographer. My life built on seeing and recording what is observed. Hearing that something real exists, observed, and deliberately closing my eyes to it, it was unbearable for me. I returned to the forest, hunted him. I sat and waited, not for an animal, but for that same singli. As soon as it appeared, I didn't move my head. I looked straight, but lifted the camera, aimed it to the side, where he was, and shot. The first shots frightened me. The vertical spot grew. A bright, burning slice of overexposed white, sharp and clear, like a wound on the photo's fabric, through which, sterile, faceless light poured, and the more I shot, the wider the tear became, as if I irritated him, and he screamed at me through my camera. The being was always there, at the edge of my vision, wavering, shimmering promise, and I kept shooting, hoping to make out the shape in the blinding light. Then the camera broke. I was in a deep, mossy canyon, a foreign presence pressed from the right. White fog in my eye pulsed with the rhythm of a mad heart. I reached the truck, bruised all over, skin torn, screaming, and sanity stretched, started the engine, and drove away. I never returned to that forest. And now, this is my life. Life in constant tense denial. I cannot turn my head sharply, cannot let my eyes wander. I must consciously, stubbornly, not see what is always near. Because I know, if I try to look straight, give in to the ancient animal desire, and the white fog in my eyes thickens. If you ever find yourself in deep, quiet places of the world and feel tingling at the back of your head, if you notice something impossible in the corner of your eye, for God's sake, pretend nothing is there. Look straight, don't search, because there are things that cannot be seen. And they will take everything from you to make sure you never see them again.